Hello, everyone. Welcome to Raksha's Exploring Empowerment, where we're bringing together community members who have helped someone who has been in need and folks who were needing support together to have an important conversation of what empowerment looks like. We often think that once a survivor or someone is out of an abusive relationship, that suddenly everything is going to be okay. And the reality is that the journey and that it is a journey and that there's a path to healing and it takes time and patience. So it's important to manage our own expectations when we're helping someone, but of course, manage the expectations of the person we're also working with. So as community members, we often think that we always have good advice to share, thinking that we're helping our friend and giving them what they need. But the reality is sometimes that our good intentions can either be amazing and something that they need, but it can also do harm. And so it's important for us to learn more about the ways that we can truly, truly be supportive. But before we start, I do want to take a moment. There's been a tremendous amount of situations in Atlanta, in Colorado, and even natural disasters that have occurred that have impacted many lives. And it's so important that we talk about empowerment, that we're exploring how we provide support, but also how we honor the journey. So I just want to take a moment of silence to recognize the lives lost and the challenges that many community members are facing right now. Thank you. So we're going to have these conversations. I'd love to have our esteemed panelists introduce themselves. So we're going to start, well, since I've known Anjali the longest, I'm going to start with Anjali. If you could do a quick introduction.
Sure. My name is Anjali Khambete. I am back to Atlanta. I've been away for some time, but I have been here for a while before that. And the best way I can describe, for everything is that, Raksha has helped me a lot over these years, going over 20 years. And so I'm really grateful for what Raksha has done for me. And I know that in today's conversation, we're going to talk to people who are helping other people, have helped other people. And I am one of the recipients of help that the community had given me a long time back. And so excited to be here. I really appreciate you inviting me to this conversation.
Thank you, Anjali. And then I'm going to let Preeti introduce herself.
Hey everyone, my name is Preeti Singh Farmer, and I've been in the US about 20 years. I'm also a domestic violence survivor, and my journey took a few years to come out of that situation that I was in. And Raksha was instrumental in helping me and providing me with the support that I needed at the time. And right now, I'm a strong women's advocate. I'm also a mom to two girls, and I hope that they feel empowered in the future, seeing their mom and other women around them. So I'm very glad to be participating in this conversation. So thank you, Parna, for inviting me.
Thank you, Preeti. Next, we'll introduce Pratibha.
Hi, good evening. My name is Pratibha, and I've been in Atlanta for 20 years as well. I have been part of the IT industry and have led business units and sales functions for IT firms. And I've had, great amount of exposure working with other South Asian women. I've helped survivors directly as well as indirectly before, and I think I'm very honored to have been invited for this discussion. So I thank Gauri and Aparna for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Pratibha. Next, we have Mansi Anand.
Hello, I'm Mansi Anand, and I've been involved with Raksha since about 10 years. I started as a volunteer and now I'm on the board. I enjoy every bit of being involved with this organization. It's great that how everybody in the community helps each other and are there for each other. And I'm thankful to Gauri and Aparna to have been to have invited me for this discussion today. Looking forward to speaking to all of you.
So I'm going to give you a few disclaimers. One of them is, of course, if at any point this gets to be difficult, please take care of yourself, take breaks, and do what you need to do to just be grounded and support yourself. So I don't think we'll have anything too intense, but just in case, we never know. And then throughout the series, we will probably post resources. So if you have a friend or you need help, we'll have some resources. And then I think we'll be putting it also on our Facebook page, so that way you can get connected to any resource that you may need. For those of you who don't know, Raksha means protection. We've been around 25 years. We work towards healing, empowerment, and justice for South Asian survivors. And it's been a privilege to have been with this organization as we work to promote a stronger and healthier South Asian community through confidential support services, education, and advocacy. So, the big question that I want to ask everyone is, what does empowering someone really mean? I mean, is it that someone empowers you? Or is it that, what is it? What is empowering?
I'll go first. I'll get started. To me, empowerment, especially in the context of women, because we are always taught to be nice and to listen to everybody, and that's how we're raised. And I think that puts us at a disadvantage overall. But to me, empowering is to allow that person the freedom to really express themselves and be who they are, and really take the power back to where it belongs in with them.
And I would second that. Um, Empowerment to me means the having the autonomy or the freedom. Could everyone else go on mute? Sorry, there's an echo. Um, so just the freedom to decide for yourself what you want to do with your life, and also having the confidence to be able to take those decisions. Um, so yeah, I mean there are two aspects to empowerment. You should be able to be to have the freedom and also the confidence. Your self-esteem shouldn't be so shattered that even if have the financial autonomy to walk away, but you are so fearful that you're not able to. So having that confidence is extremely important.
Extremely well said. I'm 100% with you.
Yeah, I
Mansi?
think.
Oh, or Pratibha, go ahead.
Sorry. No, I just thought there was a lull there. No, I think, yeah, I think absolutely echo what Preeti said. I think from the outsider in perspective, I think it's just enabling, I mean, giving, the self-confidence to somebody to live their life on their own terms, and enabling them to make their own decisions, right? I think it's when we are able to make our own decisions and live our life the way we want to live it as individuals, is, I think, when we are truly empowered, right? So I think
Yeah.
completely echo what both Preeti and Anjali said.
Mansi?
So empowering for me, someone who's not feeling there yet, means that the person is feeling low. So for me, empowering means just to validate them about their self-esteem, about their confidence, about that yeah, you can do it. You are there. We are there for you if you need us. And so I think just the motivation, giving the motivation that time is empowering them, because they all know their strengths and weaknesses, right? It's just when they are feeling dull, we need to validate their being there and just support them emotionally.
That's
And I
a,
want to
oh, go ahead.
sorry. I wanted to add something to that, what Mansi said. I think it's a journey also to help someone find their good place where they're able to do that. Because culturally, as we are growing up, as Anjali said, we are brought up with that upbringing, that mindset, to compromise, to see the family unit as on a higher pedestal than our individual happiness. So whenever there is a confrontation or a, a clash between those two values, a good girl, a good woman is supposed to compromise. So even if I'm being, my spirit is dying inside, I'm supposed to compromise to preserve this facade of the family unit. And even as a child, as a girl child in India, I remember so many times your decision making, when you try to speak up, you're kind of ignored. So speaking up, finding your voice, that itself becomes a journey. So as an adult, when someone says, "Oh, you're in a bad situation," just just get out of it. It's hard because you are not used to taking those even small decisions. And when someone is keeps on saying, "You're not worth it," you'll be, you won't be able to survive by yourself, and that's the only voice that you're hearing. The folks around you, your support system, is also saying, just keep your voice down, just say yes to whatever the person is saying. So it's hard to find that voice and walk away saying, I can do this, because for so long your voice has been like, there's a lid that people have forced on that voice. So it's hard to find that voice to speak up and to walk away. But the key is that once you start doing that, the joy inside you, the energy that you find inside you, it bubbles up, and there is so much more that you can do, and you realize your own worth. So it's a process, but it's also that spark. Once you light it, it just makes you glow, and you are
Man,
fired up.
you make me choke up, Preeti, because that is exactly how I feel. Because when I left, and I was also in a real bad abusive situation, I never thought that I could ever get out of it because I always wanted my marriage to stay, but the abuse to stop. And there's no such thing, it didn't exist in my case. But, anyways, regardless of that, I didn't think I could do anything. I still remember a long time back, my brother had to actually tell me, "Hey, you have been taking care of your 2-year old. Why are you so worried?" And I was so afraid, with everything that was going on. But since that time, and at that point, I didn't think I would ever be happy, and I have never been happier. It's so strange, but it is like unbelievable. Even to me, I get up and I'm like, what should I do? I have I'm full of hope. I'm full of excitement and happiness. And this is amazing. And I just, the people who are listening to us, first of all, let's not call them because they are one of us. And anybody can hit a bad patch in their life, and they are everybody who's going through this right now. They are really smart, they're beautiful, they are kind and good natured, good people. And so let's make sure that we don't call them because they are us. And that you are going to be very happy. And so just want to say that share that that empowerment message. So thanks, Preeti. That's exactly how I feel too, is so excited, so
Yeah,
happy every day.
yeah. I always felt it was like coming out of darkness into and feeling the sunshine, just the warmth, to be able to live and feel free in every aspect. Oh, it's wonderful.
Completely agree.
And I want to ask everybody, can you, I'm putting you on the spot, and I'm sorry if I'm doing that. Give me one example of a very empowering moment where someone just made, not even someone, because I think at the end of the day, is it someone empowering us or is it us finding our own power and being reminded of our power? Because that's what I'm hearing from y'all.
Yes,
Is that it's not necessarily that some magical person came in, but it's being reminded of our own power. Would you agree or disagree with that?
I
I
think it's a
agree with that.
combination. Yeah,
Yeah. Hmm.
it's like when you're cooking, you're making a dish. The ingredients are as important as putting it and simmering it and cooking it. Um, so the final realization has to come from within, but it helps to have the support Even if you have just a few people, 5 people, 2 people, but they're telling you that that is an option, absolutely worthwhile option. There is life after taking that decision. Um, Anyone encouraging you to get away, that is so important. To me personally, my parents telling me, finally, after years of telling me to compromise, just them saying, if you feel done, we are with you, we'll support you. Just these are 75-year-old people, but them just saying that made me, even though I was half a world away from them, just made me feel like even if something bad happens to me after I walk away, I will have that support, that I can pick up the phone and cry and tell them I'm going through a bad time, but they'll support me. And I think the fact that someone says it's important to you matter, your happiness matters, that confidence, that encouragement is so important at the time when you're down. Um, so yeah, I think it's a combination. You also need to feel brave enough to walk away. Plus, there are people encouraging you and supporting you in walking away. Because I might
I,
feel brave, but if I don't have the information what to do, then I'm stuck. Um, you know, where do I go? How do I find a divorce lawyer? How do I find? Should I call the police? I'm scared. Will I be deported? Will my kids be taken away to foster care because I faced violence in my own home? My kids witnessed it. So you have all these unknowns, no information. So even if I feel like I'm brave, I can do this, but not having the right information from the right sources, it's difficult. So I think community wise, having folks who will say it's okay to walk away, it's okay, and we'll be there to support you. um, I think everything is very crucial in those in helping in that journey.
And I would also like to say something that Mansi said. How you said that, you want them to feel validated. That matters so much. At the time when I didn't believe in anything I was doing was right, I didn't want to leave the marriage. I was not sure that was the right thing for my kids. I thought I was breaking the family unit. At that point, when people, my friends, and then they now started volunteering for Raksha for several years too, and my own grandma, when she validated and said that you're doing the right thing, that you have the right to take care of yourself, be safe, and be happy, and your kids deserve to have a happy, healthy home. That you're not hurting by doing what you're doing. Those validations matter, and it is a journey, like Aparna said, it is not a one time event. I left and it's done and it's over. And in all of this, having people from our community, Mansi, you pointed out that you have someone, I have my friends, they are my angels without wings. My day doesn't start or end without thinking about them. And to have that support means the world to me. And I don't think I could have done anything without that support. So, really appreciate Mansi, you sharing that, and everybody who helps at Raksha. And so just wanted to share that. And I agree, it is something that it takes a while to find that empowerment and that confidence in me. But, it takes a village and we can get there. And I'm proud to say that my kids both grew up really well. And I used to feel that stigma of a single parent and having the children growing up in a broken home, and seeing my kids do well in life, be good people, completely validates that I did the right thing and I feel good. And when I wasn't sure of myself, my community helped me see that. So, both sides.
Great
Thank
point,
you.
Anjali.
So Mansi and Pratibha, sorry. I'm such an ABCD in my pronunciations. You both have helped individuals in your community. And so, what was that like, and what did you have to learn in the process of supporting someone that was trying to leave an abusive situation or was in an abusive situation? Mansi, I guess since your mic is off, I'll let you go first.
So, when my son was little, we had a caretaker, Indian caretaker, and she had just come from India, and she was like an educated girl from India, and she came here. Her husband's second marriage. She had her own son, but when she started working with us, her son was very little. Her husband was very, very physical, abusive to her, and she used to live with us. On the weekends, she used to go back home, and then it came to a point that her husband didn't want to even pick her up on the weekends, and so that's the time. It was like about 15, 16 years back that I got to know about Raksha, and we contacted Raksha. Raksha helped her. They coached her and her husband, and now they are a happy family. And that time, I had thought that I have to make sure that I start volunteering Raksha, because it's such a beautiful cause, like helping each other in the time of need and making families work together. So that's how I started volunteering with Raksha after a few years. So now they are happy, and it was just that it took few months for them to get into the reconciliation mode. But now I meet them as a couple, and they are very, very happy with each other. And I thank Raksha so much for that. And I think that was a like a catalyst for me to get into with Raksha. You know, I have been with Raksha since 2009, 2010, and I'm so happy of each moment being there with them.
And just to manage expectations, we don't normally do coaching. What we probably did was make a referral and probably provide support for, because we don't do couples counseling where we can't do that, but we can make referrals and get people to get support. And of course, each survivor takes a different path, right? And each individual situation is going to be different. There are going to be some situations where folks are going to want to get help and make change, and there's some situations where folks don't. So I just want to make sure we give those disclaimers that each situation and each path and each journey is going to be different depending on the circumstances and the individuals involved. Pratibha?
Sure, thanks. So I think mine was a little bit different. It's somebody that was a part of the extended family. And I think it got complicated by the fact that she was on a dependent visa, right? But she was highly qualified. She was, a doctor from India, had completed all her sort of written tests in the US, and then had like this formal, final um, uh, residency applications to put in, and she needed to go and do rounds, follow some doctors before she could apply for her residency. And in that period, that sort of marriage completely broke up, and she didn't want to go back to India. Again, I think somebody talked about stigma within the families and how crazy it is, and so she stayed back in the US, and she came to live in Atlanta. And I think Aparna, you and I were talking about it. I'm not a psychologist, didn't have it, so this is a situation that you get faced with, and then you deal with it in a way that you know best, right? I mean, you sort of wade through it, right? And I think from my perspective, what as we talked about, there is how we handle it is really with a lot of push and pull. The pull was the empathy, sympathy, the validation, the self-esteem creation. She's a brilliant girl, right? She just had stopped believing in herself, right? And so the whole aspect of making her believe in herself, making sure she got her self-confidence back and her ability to make her own decisions, right? I mean, to the extent of what do you want to eat, that in itself was something she was very reticent about, right? I mean, what would you like to have for dinner? What are you, she just, or, and maybe she felt, that she was an outsider to this family, whatever it is. It was, uh, so that was the pull factor, the making her empathetic to her cause, understanding where she's helping her apply. Residency opens one night in August, last day of August, I think, and then both of us sat down that night and applied, and um, and the other factor was really the push factor, right? Pushing her to make these decisions, right? So her license was from California. For her to go, she had to make 3 trips to the to get her license changed from California to Georgia. Just lack of self confidence. Sing every question that the person there asked her, she would come back and say, "I don't have this document," and we'd be like, "No, you have this document. You have to go back." And she'd be like, "Why don't you come with me once?" And we were like, "No, you've got to do this yourself." So it was a lot of push, right or wrong, I don't know. I think, but we celebrated all her little victories. I think it started to help her bring her confidence back. And I think by March, she had, her residency, and, she stayed with me for about 10, 11 months. And she came in July and she left in June. So she, stayed with us for about 11 months. She's now a practicing doctor, remarried, has a child. But she, post moving out of my house, she really did blossom and bloom. And, she really found a voice. I think Preeti was talking about finding your own voice. And I think, that's what she did. So, but a very sort of hard fought journey for her.
Yeah, I think it's a complicated. Yep. I think it can be very complicated when we are encouraging someone to do something on their own when they may not feel comfortable doing it, right? And so, what is the sweet spot? Like, like you said, the most examples that we can get. I think, Pratibha, you talked about a driver's license. Was that the.
Yeah, a small task. And, she had a California driver's license, just changing that driver's license from California to Georgia. She had the, relevant documents. And you have to, she is a confident person. She's very, very, very educated. She's a bright and a young girl, bright young girl. So it's actually shattering at times to see that. But I think, you know, she pushed herself through a lot too. I think one of the other things, self confidence is very liberating, right? When you start gaining it, you realize that you can free yourself far more than others around you can. And I think that started to happen with her very quickly. So
Yeah. So, I feel like part of it is encouraging folks and a healthy amount of pushing, not real pushing, right?
yeah, no,
And I think
yeah,
what you say is people being reminded that they can do something, and sometimes they may not like it because they're scared and they're
right,
afraid, and they've been, it's taken time when you hear so much that you're not enough, that you can't do anything. It really does impact your own belief system. So it takes years and time to keep building that up. And so it's that reinforcement to constantly be reminded of your own power and that your own ability. And remember when you did XYZ, those are the important things. I think, Anjali, did you have a story of a friend that kind of,
Hmm.
gave you a little
Yes,
nudge, and it was enough of a nudge, I don't know.
agreed.
But
And to be honest, in terms of the push, the one thing I will say is that I don't think that none of us, lay people, we haven't been in abusive situations, so we don't really appreciate the amount of danger a person can be in. And so I think when it comes to push, we and that's what my family and friends did. That was really nice. Is that they let the professionals make that, help me make that call, because for one is I had a gut feeling of how safe I was or not. And everybody should be able to trust their own gut feeling. Our gut is never wrong. And then that's the part where I think it would be wise to not push, and let the professionals sort of help make that decision or guide the person. But in terms of push and pull, I had a friend and I was really scared. And I, looking back, I still feel like why was I so scared? But I was, and there were reasons why. But I was really scared, and I said, well, I don't think I can do the visitation exchange, it's, at my home, because I was so afraid. And then I asked my friend, hey, why don't you come and stay with me so that I'll feel more confident and okay with that process. And she said, look, you can do this. You have been taking care of everything by yourself, all the legal process you have been managing by yourself. You totally can do it. But let me do this. I'll come and wait at a CVS near your house. So if you need help, I can quickly drive over. Don't worry, I'll be there in 5 minutes. But you can do it. So, go for it. If you need anything, I'm here for you. So that was a good push. And so there were the times where I was hesitant to move back. And I thought, what if, what if I get killed? And my friend started laughing and she said, well, good thing, then you don't have to worry about anything. And I was like, my jaw dropped. What are you talking about? But in the joke, she was basically saying that, you're just frozen in fear. So don't do that. And so a little bit of a push and pull was very important. But anytime that there were haldi kumkums or anything, those are like dear to our hearts, where women typically don't feel welcome in those occasions. And my friends and my family made it a point to make sure that I was included. And that was really a big hearted gesture on their part, is that they remained my friends and they did everything that we used to do before. Nothing changed just because I left an abusive relationship. So if when we are helping somebody, then those things that they did meant the world to me, that my kids were not feeling like they have lost their whole social circle because their mom made this decision, and also because I didn't feel like I was an outcast because I had made that decision. That meant the world to me. So that's what I think the push and the pull helped in my case. Thanks, Aparna.
You're on mute, Aparna.
Thank you. I was like, Preeti, I think you may have had a different experience when you decided to leave. So I'd love for you to share that.
Yeah, I was listening to Anjali and I was like, oh my God, that's so beautiful that your friends, family, everyone supported and was there. In my case, my out of town friends were there for me, friends in India. But unfortunately, my Indian friends, so called friends, um, even my Indian neighbors, folks who were I was very close to, they just vanished overnight. Um, Literally, like within weeks of my filing for divorce. Um, and they knew what because they were so close to me. I had shared with them, um, and I filed for divorce in November, and by December, no one was returning my calls anymore. Folks that I was used to talking every day, and it was just heartbreaking at the time for me. And I had good friends in India that I could speak to and reach out to, but just a person in person, one to one interaction that I yearned for. Um, just to have a hug, just to go out for a cup of coffee, just being invited to birthdays and other stuff. It was just like I was someone that um, didn't exist anymore in their social circle. In some cases, I had a couple of folks when I was like, "What's going on? Just be honest with me." In a couple of cases, my friends told me that apparently their husbands had told them not to connect with me anymore because I was a home breaker. I was breaking up my home, so I would be a bad influence on them. And folks I was just friends with on a one-on-one basis, they just stopped talking to me. And it was painful. Um, the good thing was I joined a divorce support group. Um, and in fact, I run it now. I've been running it for the last 4 years. But at the time, um, I joined it. They didn't have any meetings, anything. So I kind of brought it back to life. I started, just having sessions and groups and outings. And I made a lot of friends over there people who were in the same situation. It also opened my eyes to, um, and that is my fault. I was isolated before the divorce because of my ex, myself. Because when you're in pain, you don't want to make friends. You don't want to reach out. You are kind of just wounded with everything that's happening, so you kind of become shuttered. Um, and I only had, I think, 99% of Indian friends. But after I reached out, and joined the groups and started. Um, I think I made about 90% American friends, and that helped me because for me to think that I was in a normal place, um, it 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 was so important for me to have a friend circle, have the support system. So that other group gave me that, but I was disappointed, to say the least, in my own community at the time. Um, I had couple of folks who said, um, the person who gave me, I begged her for help because she was well connected in the community. I didn't know any divorce lawyers, so she found out, gave some names to me, and she said, I'm giving it to you, Preeti, but I feel like I'm breaking up your home. I don't want any part in this. It was amazing to me that she would rather have me hit and in facing violence than help me walk away. And I don't blame her for that. I don't blame the others for that, but it is part of our upbringing. It's part of our culture that there is a ecosystem like this that exists. It's so hard to find help. I'm a cancer survivor also, and just the year before I faced cancer, and I had so much support. It poured out from the community. I felt enveloped in love and caring. But during the divorce, except for Raksha, um, I can't recall anyone who was Indian in Atlanta who helped me, honestly. There were a couple of folks who gave me some names. You can reach out to this person, that person, but other than that 5 minute of help, yeah. So thank you, Aparna. That 1 year was unbelievably helpful to come and meet and to just be able to talk about what I'm going through and to be able to hear that that is okay to feel. That's absolutely normal what you're feeling and you're going through. And what you are doing is also absolutely the right thing to do. So, yeah, that was my experience.
Preeti, I will also add to that. You're right. Like for me too, there were few people who have remained my friends over these last 20 years, and those are my guardian angels. But the rest of the Indian community, I have had a similar experience to yours. The questions I would get asked or taunted with were, "Why did she wait till she had two kids? It must not have been that bad. That is why she didn't leave." Or what did she do to cause him to be that way to her? Is so nice otherwise. So those are very hurtful. And then not many people invited us either, and my kids did suffer. So had it not been for these people who are my dear friends who have remained with me all these years, I don't think I could have survived, to be honest with you. And so when I said it, it almost felt like a Pollyanna approach. And I'm at this point choosing to just remember those times that were the positive ones. But I was very disappointed in how our Indian community as a whole there is so much stigma around it. You know, if there were
Yeah,
friends of mine who had husbands and they would sort of not want me to be around them because I don't know whether they thought maybe I'll just try to, be friends with their husband or something. Well, I have no interest in that. All I was thinking about is my kids and my life. And to be thought about that way was hurtful. And me too. I found much more solace in the support groups that I attended, and also the non-Indian community who were more open and didn't
yeah,
think of me leaving my marriage as a big stigma, and they were appreciative of me trying to build a healthier life for myself and my kids. To them, going through the abuse and being in that situation, keeping my kids in that situation was far more detrimental than the Indian community of mine would let me believe. So I mean, I'm completely with you. As a
Yeah.
At a high level, that was really really uncalled for, but they went out of their way to make me feel little, and make me feel guilty and hurt, and that was not right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
You
I
know,
sorry, go
sorry.
ahead.
Yeah, Aparna, sorry. Sorry, Preeti, just take a second. I think, just being relatively new to the Raksha ecosystem and hearing some of this for the first time, I mean, I think Preeti and Anjali, both of you are all amazing role models. I think, just to hear you both speak, talk about your journey and be so open about it, it's, you know, 90% of the problem is that even if somebody is going through it, or they have gone through it and they have come out of it on the other side, people in our community, especially South Asian communities, people hate to speak about it, right?
Oh
They
yeah.
don't. Yeah, I mean,
100%.
you
Yeah.
both on the other side of the stream, and yet I'm sure there's so many other women like you who've done it, who've waded through the mess and gotten out on the other side. But they, most people just hate to talk about it. So it's it's, I mean, it's almost, I said bravo. I mean, it's all inspiring to hear your stories, and being, you guys are articulating it and
Yes.
communicating it, for all the women out there who perhaps have gone through it already or are going through it right now. I mean, it's,
Yeah.
it's just, sorry,
Yeah.
just,
No,
It's
thanks,
hard and
Pratibha.
it takes time. Yeah.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
and I
Sorry.
think Anjali would agree with me that because we were in that situation and
Yeah.
faced that stigma and the feeling of that it's such a huge taboo to file for divorce, I think it's so important to raise our voice, that other people hear and say, okay, she did it, she's leading a good life. They have an example, as you said, Pratibha, role model,
Yeah.
to have those conversations. um,
Agree.
to If I hear of someone like me who's taken that decision, who's a divorced woman but is happy, then I can say, there is life. But other
Yeah.
than that, all I heard before, oh, you're in your 40s, what are you going to do if you file for divorce, and known devil is better than this, just kind of stereotype typical stuff.
Yeah.
And again, as Anjali said, people who've not been in an abusive situation, it's very, very, very hard for them to relate. um,
Completely agree. Yeah.
I had one very nice friend, and she's one of the handful who was still acknowledged me even after the divorce, and invited me to her home a few times. But she was clueless. When I filed, she called me and said, maybe you should have some family time, a movie night on Fridays. Maybe that'll help bring your family together. And to me, it's just, if someone is trying to control you, um, not trying to go for a walk outside, is also a huge trigger for violence and verbal abuse. Uh, a family night, a movie night is not going to help. There's serious issues there. That toxic environment, again, only it's hard for someone to understand that. Um, Especially if you don't go into a lot of details. So people resist talking about it, people resist hearing about it. I tried telling one of my friends about it one day, and she was like, literally, I don't want to hear about this. This is too much. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Um, but that is also a fact. So I think it's very, very important that people like us kind of raise our voices and say, it's okay. It's okay to be happy. It's okay to
Yeah.
put your happiness, put yourself as a priority item in the list of people you care about. Care about yourself first, also.
Hmm.
um, and it's absolutely okay, acceptable. I mean, I'm not an American citizen yet, but in somewhere it says pursuit of happiness, right? In the American
Yep.
preamble, I don't know, Constitution. And I
Life
think
liberty, the pursuit of happiness. Yes.
yes, Okay, thank you. So I think that is something that all of us need to learn, and it needs to be, absorbed. Because in India, it's uh, we talk about women empowerment, and I think a lot of good things are being done right now. Um, I went to India a couple of years back, and I heard "Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao" type slogan, which was, I thought, very important.
Can you
Um,
translate that for those of us
uh,
who can be?
Save a girl child, educate a girl child.
Okay.
Because in poor North Indian Rajasthan, or just UP, I'm from UP, so poor parts, a girl child is seen as a burden. They're not educated. They're taken out of school. If a family is poor, they would rather educate a boy child than a girl child. A lot of times, girl babies are just infanticide. Girl infanticide is a reality in small poor households in India, villages. It's becoming less and less, but I think female illiteracy is still an issue.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I think that thing has to um, treating women right. Women's happiness also is important. Their voice should be heard. They shouldn't be seen as a burden or as an object. Because if you look at it in a marriage, the core of the family, the spine, revolves around the husband and the in-laws.
Yeah.
The bahu, or the daughter-in-law, is seen like someone as an added on. How does she add on to the glow of this main core of Earth? And in my mind, a marriage is a nice partnership where you kind of, there's love, respect, mutual respect
Mhm.
and love. And both of the partners find happiness together. It's not one person deciding everything and their happiness dominates everyone else's. There's no one person trumps the other person. But I
Right.
think that is something that needs to change in a patriarchal culture.
I'm gonna
And,
um
and And in our culture, we are so ingrained to believe that, and so we look at domestic violence through that light as, what did
Yes.
you to do to deserve that? And not realizing that it's about power and control, whether it's physical abuse, whether it's emotional abuse, financial abuse, psychological abuse, whatever. It really is about control. So it's not less to do with somebody, you know, hurting you. It's more about them owning you, them thinking of you as an object that they can do whatever to you and get away with it. And the get away with it is the part that makes that person more and more powerful. And
Yeah.
to me, we have to make sure that, nobody gets married with the intention of one day breaking the marriage. So when a person is filing for a divorce or going that route, we as a community have to realize that there is a reason why this person is doing what she's doing or he's doing. Most of the times it's women, but so I'm going to use she. And so, nobody makes that hard decision lightly. And so
Yeah.
respect that, and know that there has, and at that point, then know that for that family, for that unit, that is the right call. And that, respect that decision, go and support that person to be the best person they can be and the happiest they can be, and not
Yeah.
get in their way and put them down, you know.
Yeah. And
So
an empowered woman is equally contributing member of society. Um, and
Yeah,
100%.
absolutely. I think that's what I was going to say. See, you were talking about educate the girl child, right? But, I come from corporate world. I work for Indian IT firms. That education does not equate empowerment, right? I'm sure all the
Mm,
friends that cut you off when you were going through your downtime, I'm sure they were really educated, but they were not empowered. They didn't have a voice, right? They were
no.
listening to their husband saying, oh, she's broken a house and therefore she's that's the problem that culturally as a country we face, right? We educate a child, they could be girl child, they are middle class, make sure that our girls are doctors and engineers and they do mbas and all of that, but women in workforce is a huge problem. I mean, so the empowerment ends at some point in time. after they're educated. We're like, oh, we've educated, now you're getting married, now you have a family and you raise kids, and that sort of becomes the priority, of the woman over actually, working and finding the voice, being equal to the husband that that she's living with. So the cultural nuances of empowerment in India, and especially even if there's a slogan, let's educate our girls, it just doesn't end there. It's
No,
like
It doesn't. And
yeah,
I
it
agree with
doesn't.
you. Absolutely. You're absolutely right, Pratibha. It's one of the ingredients. So
it's
Yeah,
the
education
table stakes.
gives.
It's just table stakes, right? That's what it is
I'm
basically.
yeah,
so,
Sorry.
so-
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I couldn't hear what you said.
I
It's
said
what?
that's table stakes, right? Education is the least that you can do, and
Yes.
that is
yeah,
not the starting point, right? So,
yeah,
I think it's
that's
an
just the
important
starting point.
ingredient. But education should be seen that every girl should have it.
yeah.
Now, in India, we educate a girl 90% of the time so that she can make a good marriage. That is the end result. I mean, however education you might give a girl, but right now, for a lot of, not everyone, but a lot of the women, the end goal for the family is shadi kara dete hain. Let her get married. Once, if she is highly educated, she might attract a highly educated groom. She might be able to get a groom who's an NRI. But the end goal, the be all and the end all, remains marriage. Now, but education is also important because if you need to remove yourself from harm's way, like even if my family is not with me, but situation is so toxic, if I did not have my education, if I didn't have my job, I would be financially constrained to stay in a harmful situation. So
Mm-hmm.
it is a very helpful ingredient, especially for poor women. If they are not able to sustain or look after themselves, the family does is poor, they won't be able to support, they don't want her to come back to their house, the husband and the in-laws are torturing her, they mistreat her. If she is financially dependent, then there is absolutely zero hope for her.
No, no, absolutely. So I'm in agreement. But I'm saying that is the minimum entry gate criteria,
Yes.
right?
Yeah,
We
Yeah.
should be
Yeah.
educating our child. That shouldn't be,
yeah,
a slogan. It
Yeah.
is a given. We should
Well,
be doing that,
yeah.
right? The world should be educating their girl children,
In
right?
terms of
Okay.
domestic violence, though, education is, it doesn't discriminate. So, like I myself, I have my engineering degree. I've been managing teams. I've been doing all kinds of, fancy things in IT industry for years and years. That didn't preclude me from going through what I went through. It is a very different ball game. Education is needed so that a person can be self-sufficient, and then that in of itself at some point may help her. But at the same time, that like you both have said, is a starting point, and so with a grain of salt, yes, education is a good thing, but may not necessarily liberate or empower totally.
Education does
Yeah.
is not equaling empowerment. You
It
know,
is an important ingredient
yeah,
in
it is just
empowerment.
an ingredient, but
Without it, it's
yeah,
more difficult. That's what I mean. Because
yeah,
with education, you get a chance of
Yeah.
employment. You
Agreed.
get a
Agreed,
Yeah.
chance at,
totally agree.
yeah, financial freedom.
Yeah,
That
if I didn't
can
have
be
my degree,
important.
any ability to earn good money, that would have made my journey so much harder. So
Yeah.
100% with you that education matters.
it
But
matters, but we have so many survivors who have limited education who have done
Yeah,
amazing. And I can think of a survivor who barely spoke English and, somehow made it through with 3 kids, passed her U.S. citizenship test when she was kind of limited English proficient. And she still struggles, but we're still astounded with what she's accomplished, right?
amazing. Yeah,
And so I think yes, educate. I think people think that because you have education, you're less likely to experience it. Yeah, it might be easier for you to leave, but it may not, depending on the situation. Um, and so I think there's different realities. And yes, education
agree.
is so important, but I've still seen people who have very little education still come out and survive. They may be in a very different situation and they may still struggle, but they still find their voice, they find their freedom, and they find a way to
Yeah,
support themselves and their family. I know,
100%. Yeah.
Monty, you wanted to talk about something about like the tendency for folks to want to give a lot of advice and how much And I think that's what everybody talked about is people would give advice. And I know you had a lot to say at that. And if you can give me about a minute, because we're getting low on time, and I want to make sure we get some summary out of here.
Yes,
So
I think people are all giving advice of being in good intention in every situation, right? But I think at times when we think like, oh, we are doing it for your good, but we don't understand what the other person is going through at that time. But we just want to put our voice across. We just want to put our word across just so that they know that we are there. But actually, we are putting one more layer of darkness around them of so that they can shut down. So even like as a family, as close friends, we try to be so close and give advice and coming from good side, but the other person is not taking that advice as a uh, openly, maybe
yeah, sometimes I think instead of giving advice, we could ask questions, right? And help an individual find their own answers instead of saying, okay, so why is that important? Anjali, why are you scared? What is scaring you about this? So you can kind of come up with your own answers. Or Preeti, why do you need XYZ? I think part of it is us asking more questions, and sometimes we're scared, so instead we give advice, right? We want to be experts. We like being the one who gives the good advice, don't we?
No,
But we don't
even
realize.
even like me as a mother, or when I had a mother, right? So she's giving me advice, or I'm giving advice to my kids, right? But I am giving advice to them how much I know, right? But they are not taking it the way I think they should, right? But just because they are my kids, they will not ask me 10 questions. They will just keep quiet. But of course, they're not going to take my advice, right?
But it's hard when you're trying to make difficult decisions. I think whether it's like what court system, and I think Angela, you said this, and I know both you and Preeti have dealt with extensive legal issues, and I don't think people understand the reality of this, right? And I know we are. Well, maybe if folks are okay, do y'all want to go a few more minutes? I want to be respectful also of y'all's
Sure.
time.
The
Okay.
legal part, I do want to say something though, because when I was going through this, all my friends would, not all, but some, they're not my friends anymore, I guess. But people are easy to quickly give advice and say, you have to fight this. You have to make sure that you get this order and that. They have no idea how the legal system works. And by putting that person in that situation, they do more harm than good. So I'm with you, Mansi, let that person make the right judgment call and get the professional help they need, because that's going to help them more than layperson giving an advice, albeit out of the best intention, can do more harm. But
Yeah.
Aparna, back to you.
Why don't Preeti? Do
It,
you want to add something to
yeah,
that?
add to it. I think advice is extremely useful. It, but it should be given with the thought that is it's advice. So the person who's receiving the advice should be able to hear that there is such an option, or this is this thought process that there someone who cares about them is thinking, as an option, a solution, a path that they can follow. But the final blueprint of what they should do still remains with them. And because they are in a bad place, it will take time for them to decide. So I think giving advice is fine, but I think, Aparna, you mentioned that sweet spot.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you give it, you're not talking down to them, you're not telling them this is what you should do. If you just, have you thought about this? It seems, whatever you've described, it seems, can you tell me, as you said, just dig for more details. Just be open that this is part of human life, that such situations can happen. Don't fight away from it, don't ignore it, don't shutter yourself. To to walk through pain, you need to embrace it sometimes, and you need to be able to open your heart and your mind and your brain and your ears to hearing about these things happening around you. And I think giving advice is fine as long as you give it with not the intention that you don't feel bad if the other person doesn't take it. Basically, is what I'm trying to
Or
say.
make them feel bad, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But I
So
think
In
patience
most
is the key here. You
circumstances,
need
it
to be
doesn't happen
patient.
that way, right?
yeah, this
One at
goes.
a time. One at a time.
Sorry,
So
sorry.
like, if even if I'm guilty of that, if I'm giving an advice to someone who is very close to me, right? and then that person doesn't adhere to that advice and something negative happens, and I will immediately say, oh, you didn't listen to my advice.
Yeah.
That's why this thing happened, right?
Yeah. And that is where we need to
So
take
we
a
don't have that boundary.
filter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but I
I
think,
went to a, it reminds me, I
yeah.
went to a therapist in 2011 and I opened up about my abuse for the first time. And she was very open back and she was very clear, like, whatever you're describing, the person is not going to change. And I was like, no, no, I want to work on my marriage. I want to stay together. I want to do this, that. Yeah, I went all that, blah, blah, blah. She said, it's up to you to make that final decision. I'm just telling you that these are the realities that 99% of the times the person will not change. Now, then she said, if you decide to stay, she didn't make a judgment about it, whether I'm staying or not staying. She said, if you're deciding to stay, then these are the ways you can stop from getting harmed. Don't find out the triggers for the anger. Don't trigger those. So, and then she took a step back. She was not vested in, like, are you following my advice? But she gave me the real deal. Like this, she laid out the map that this is what's going to happen if you stay with him. If you decide to stay with him, then you can help yourself by following these pieces of advice. She gave me some reading material. She gave me some sources. If you feel you are, suicidal or this or that, read up on this, go call this hotline. And then, and I think that's where, because now when I try to help someone or someone reaches out for help, I give them my perspective, but at the same time I kind of listen, and then I just leave it there, because ultimately that final thing has to come from them whenever they reach their breaking point. And you have to be patient. If it's a friend, someone who's you're really connected to, it breaks your heart to see them going through and not taking that decision. They might keep going back, whatever it is. But I think patience is the key here. You just be patient, you give them the support, um, and you have to take a step back also, like not feel that, oh my god, why are they not listening to me, why are they not listening to me?
Yeah.
Because the point in giving advice is you kind of say, okay, this is what I feel, but it's up to you. And that's part of women empowerment too. You have to let the other person decide what's important
Yeah, that's
to
what I
them.
was going to say. It goes to the heart of empowerment, right? Because that's what
Exactly.
we
Yeah.
started out with, saying that the decision making is with the person that's going through that situation. And
Yeah.
you can give all the advice, you can give all the reading material, you can give all the resources, but the final decision and every step of the way, that is to empowerment, because that is really in the hands of
Yeah.
the survivor, right?
I
So
think it's the inner calling. Till that comes out, nothing, no advice, nothing will change. You know, it's the inner calling of a
Mhm.
person. You know,
And then you
But advice
respect that
helps.
person's decision, even if
It
that means
Yeah.
they may be making a mistake, that's okay. Back off and then let them make the decision. And even if it's a mistake, live through it and they'll still come back. And
but
if
sometimes
they
it's very
don't
hard
listen to your
to see a
advice,
loved one going
uh,
through a difficult time, right? And
yeah,
they are not coming up to the situation where they can handle, and you are trying to help, and they are not trying to receive. It's very hard, you know.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
at that point, then, still be there for them. Show up for your friend, be there as a friend. If they don't listen to your advice, that's okay. You still be there for them. That would be the right, like that would mean so much to that person at that point.
Yeah, I think
So
the key is, sorry, I'll just say one thing.
yeah.
I think if you just let that friend know that whenever they are ready to talk about it more, you are there for them. Whenever they're ready to walk away, you're there for them. And then leave it be. You can talk about other things. You don't have to keep talking about the same thing over and over again. But it's like that final thing on the camel's back. The day the breaking point is reached,
yes.
they should have that someone to support them, to help them hold their hand, and just be sitting by their side while they go through that painful purge. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
that's all.
I'm gonna I want to just do a quick summary, and then I'm gonna have y'all leave with a piece of advice for survivors and a piece of advice for a friend. One quick ones, y'all, because we've gone over. But I want to summarize. So the things that are important is that when we're helping a friend, is to manage our own expectations and to really let them make the choice and remind them of their own power. We must remember that the decisions they make, whether to stay or to leave, are theirs to make and that they are the experts, because leaving can also be dangerous. And it can be one of the most dangerous times. Individuals are more likely to be killed when they're leaving than in any time in the relationship. So we need to let survivors guide us and let us know, because they're the ones living in the reality. A reminder for us to continue to be friends and invite our friends, even when they're going through a divorce, and to continue to show up. To ask questions as opposed to giving advice. We can give some advice, but also acknowledge that we are patient, that we let them make their choices, and let them know that we're still there for them. Okay? So, in leaving that, a reminder for folks to just take their time and to really remember, one of the most powerful things is to remind individuals of their own power, their own voice, and that they will make the decision that is best for them when they're ready to make that decision. And we're just there to walk with them on that journey. So, keeping that in mind, quick pieces of advice, one for survivors and one for their friends or family members. Anjali.
Okay. So for the survivors and people who are going through this situation right now, I would say you have the power in you. You always have had that. Use your power to empower, starting with yourself. And to the supporters and friends and family, I would say never stop loving this person. Never let go of their hand and show up for them every day.
Preeti?
My advice to survivors or folks in a bad situation would be to give yourself a hug, look in the mirror, and say you're beautiful, wonderful, and you're absolutely worth being happy, and you have every right in the world to be happy. So love yourself, and treat yourself as a priority. And my advice to folks around them would be to encourage them in making small decisions, big decisions, but encourage them to take their own decisions.
Excellent. Mansi?
Advice to the survivors would be positive, take one day at a time, um, think logically, self love, and go with your gut feeling. And to the family and friends, support the survivor, be with them, and just make them, just show them that you love them unconditionally.
Okay, Rataba?
I think to go back, I'm using Preeti's words here. I think self love, right, and seek help, right. I mean, there's I think it's a moment in time, right. So you should seek help and love yourself, right. I think to survivors, and I think to friends around them, I think empathy, sympathy, give them, an ear, let them find their voice, find them resources, help them through their, downs and ups as well. But, stay away from making decisions for them or trying to push your decisions on them.
Right, it's their life. They've got to live it, and they've got to deal with every choice that they make. So it's got to be
Right.
their decision.
Absolutely.
Thank you all for giving your time and your wisdom and your experiences that mean the world. I mean, it means the world to be able to facilitate this conversation. I'm so grateful. I hope we can continue to have these conversations. But if you need support or need help, please continue to connect with us. We can, if you want to support, we get lots of calls from family members that are trying to figure out how to support. And then we also have a lot of survivors that, of course, call us. And so if we can't help you, we can definitely connect you to the right resources. We're going to provide resource lists. So please check out our resource list. And then, Preeti, really quickly, how do people find out about your support group?
It's on Meetup. I can send you a link, but I think it's Atlanta Divorce Support Group and beyond.
Okay,
Yeah,
so for folks who might want to join that, there's a meetup group that you can join that Preeti
yeah.
runs.
And
And
I have, yeah. Sorry, go
do you
ahead.
want to say something else?
No, I was just saying we go on hikes, we go have outings, we have discussions, conversations, dinner with wine kind of thing, Zoom calls. So
So excellent. So please check that out if you're looking for that resource. And we hope to continue these conversations. Thank you again. And we hope you will continue to join us in some of these important conversations so we can change our culture, change our communities into a more loving and beloved community to support survivors as they make these choices. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Take care. Bye bye.
Bye.